Red Bull since the summer break have been rejuvenated. Max, with back-to-back wins, has made himself into an outsider for the title, and even Yuki has scored points in 2 out of the last 3 races, and in Baku, had by far his best and most convincing weekend of the season. That is not to say, however, that he's even close to securing his future at the team, because going into the weekend, Isaac Hadjar was being asked about whether or not he has already signed a contract with Red Bull for 2026, and on top of that, despite Yuki having his best and strongest results so far, Liam Lawson in the RB still managed to finish in front of him. The form of Isaac Hadjar has been by far the biggest surprise of the season, and it's incredible how quickly he's played himself into the conversation for the Red Bull seat. The irony is that Helmut Marko didn't even want him for this season. Throughout last year, whether you listen to Marko or the media, the narrative was that Hadjar hadn't really impressed the team during his FP1 outings. Marko even tried to sign Colapinto at the end of the season from Williams, and there wasn't ever an indication that they really believed in Hadjar. It was only after Perez was dropped late on that Hadjar was promoted basically by default because the team needed to fill a seat, and then added to the fact that Marko also called Hadjar embarrassing after his emotional outpouring in Australia, and it's a testament to just how strong of a driver Hadjar has been. Hadjar's form has complicated the Red Bull second driver situation because his stock right now after driving the Racing Bulls is so high that, in my mind, it is almost inevitable that in a few months' time he will jump into that Red Bull, and almost immediately people will go from praising him in 25 to saying that he doesn't even belong in Formula 1 in 26. I say that because that is almost exactly what has happened to Yuki since the start of the season. Yuki at the beginning of the year had so much support and sympathy from the fans because he was passed over for Liam Lawson. He also had a lot of momentum because of how well he started in the RB, and yet now, people are ready to throw him out for the next driver, assuming, as we've all done over the years, that magically, it's just going to solve Red Bull's problems. And now, whilst we don't know if Hadjar is going to be able to solve Red Bull's issues, the one thing that is certain is that Red Bull are missing a key ingredient for future success, and that is Lovable, who are the sponsor of today's video. If you've ever had a startup or business idea that you want to turn into an app or website, but do not have the coding skills to do so, then Lovable is here to help you. Simply tell its AI exactly what idea you have in mind, and it will help turn your idea into reality. So for example, I have always wanted a website where I can access Formula 1 standings, statistics and records on one platform. At the moment, I have to use multiple websites to access this information, and so that is exactly what I asked Lovable to create, and within minutes they built a starting point for my idea. From there, you can ask the AI to make adjustments and to add whatever tools and functionality that you want. I asked the AI to create a table of pole sitters in F1, and even noticed that first time around, the data was only correct up to 2023. No problem, however, because then I asked the AI to make the data up to date as of 2025, and all of these changes were quickly implemented onto my website. That is the incredible power of Lovable. Whatever idea you have, from e-commerce to digital media, there is no waiting for development cycles to make changes, and they will support you all the way, even after publishing. Go try Lovable today with my link in the description and use my code AUDACEYT20 to get 20% off your subscription. As long as you've got the vision, then Lovable can make it a reality. Next year is going to offer a reset for all of the drivers because although the current cars and the current Red Bull concept is now very mature, next year we're going to have brand new engines, we'll have brand new active aero, and Red Bull themselves for the very first time will be running their own bespoke power unit. Within that unpredictability lies opportunity for a more level playing field because, as we saw with Checo, his best season in terms of his competitiveness alongside Max was arguably 2022 at the beginning of this rule cycle, because as the cars then got more mature and as the development started to center more and more towards what Max could cope with in the pursuit of pure performance, the gap between Max and Checo only got bigger as the rules became more mature. And now, for the moment, I'm going to take Liam Lawson out of the equation because I think it's almost guaranteed that it's going to be either Yuki or Hadjar in the Red Bull for next season. 2026 is more than just another season. it is an opportunity for either of these two drivers to be involved in a brand new generation of Red Bull and for them to also stamp their mark on the development of the car from day one. And my worry is that although promoting Hadjar might seem like the logical next step, I don't think that as a second-year driver alongside Max, that he's going to be vocal enough inside the team, unlike Yuki, who's already there now building those foundations with the design department and learning in terms of what compromises he can make to tailor the Red Bull more towards him. This is the exact thing that Alex Albon revealed when talking about why he struggled so much at Red Bull. Alex was in an almost identical situation to Hadjar, with the only difference being that Alex was promoted halfway through his rookie season, and from there, Alex has been very honest that as a second-year driver, he didn't have the confidence or experience within himself to make his voice heard inside the team, and ultimately in an environment like Red Bull where everything is very centered around Max's feedback because obviously he's the number one driver and he can do things with the car that no one else on the grid can. That chipped away at Alex's confidence, both on and off the track. With Yuki and Checo, even though they were coming under a lot of pressure and scrutiny from the outside world about their performances, they were still a lot more vocal about the car's limitations, and also when their performance was hampered due to driving an inferior spec compared to Max. As a driver, especially in an environment like Red Bull with so many big characters, you can't just hide inside your shell and feel as though you can't have a voice alongside Max. Yuki and Checo had the experience and self-belief to make their concerns public, and my worry with Isaac is that as a second-year driver, joining a brand new team where everyone is going to be new to him, and then having to deal with a new generation of car that he wasn't there to help develop, I am not sure that he's going to have the voice or authority that he needs if things start going wrong, and I think it's going to be very easy for his confidence to get drained in that environment. It's ultimately a question of timing versus potential. I think it's fair to say that Hadjar has more potential than Yuki at Red Bull long term, but is 2026 really the right season to promote him? And in a worst case scenario, or what do you do with Hadjar if he also underperforms like Yuki and Liam before him? Regardless of what Isaac does, this season Yuki is in the Red Bull right now, and having produced his best weekend last time out, he is still the one who can dictate his own destiny. He is already integrated into the team, he's already got involved more in the car's development, and even though the results haven't been consistently good yet, he does look like he's improved with the car in recent races and potentially making a case to maintain the stability and continuity of him and Max at the team for 2026. After Red Bull brought major upgrades in Zandvoort, which have turned the car and also Max into consistent race winners again, although Yuki has also worked hard to find performance independently, there is no doubt that he is benefiting a lot from the Red Bull being more competitive as a whole. When the car is capable of winning races in the hands of Max, it gives the second driver an opportunity to fight for podiums. When the car is only capable of fighting for podiums in the hands of Max, that is when we see disaster weekends and even Q1 eliminations in the hands of the second driver. That is why Max has emphasized, even when Checo was at the team, that the most important thing is to focus on the performance of the car and not why his teammate is under-delivering. And now, the one driver that I've not yet really talked about is Liam Lawson. Lawson occupies a really difficult space at the moment because, in a way, his results, which have really improved over the last 4 or 5 races, have only made the driver triangle even more complicated. Originally, I think we could all agree that it felt like his seat was potentially at risk to 18-year-old Red Bull Jr. Arvid Lindblad, who currently sits 7th in the Formula 2 standings. Lindblad represents Red Bull's future. There is no doubt that he has a huge amount of potential, maybe even to become world champion, and whilst it seemed like Lindblad's promotion would come at the expense of Lawson, Lawson's form has now allowed him to play his way back into the seat for 2026. The double complication is that Liam Lawson is clearly a driver who deserves to be in Formula 1, he clearly has a place on the grid and could do a really good job for multiple teams in Formula 1, but it doesn't really feel like he has a future within the Red Bull family. The complication with Lindblad, however, is that he is almost certain to be destined for Formula 1, and the question is whether or not he should be promoted in 2026, or be left to do another year in Formula 2, with Lawson kept on at RB. And now a lot of people have made the case that given Antonelli's struggles in the Mercedes, that it wouldn't hurt to just leave Lindblad in Formula 2 for another season, but in my mind, there is a very, very big difference between being promoted into a midfield team like Racing Bulls, where there isn't really that much pressure or scrutiny, compared to a championship-winning manufacturer like Mercedes with Russell as your teammate. Whilst Antonelli hasn't lived up to everyone's expectations, I also don't think that he's been as bad as some claim him to be. To be honest, I just do not see the Antonelli and Lindblad situations as equivalent, in that if Lindblad is destined for Formula 1 and has already won multiple races in Formula 2 this season as a rookie and has even been unlucky at times, like being disqualified out of a win at Spa, I think it would be more beneficial for his development to be promoted to Racing Bulls alongside any of the 3 experienced Racing Bulls drivers, and for him to start his development in an environment that is designed for young drivers. Where that leaves Liam Lawson, however, is then the complication, and that's not even taking into account the fact that we don't know who the other driver at RB will be, because if Hadjar is promoted, it's not even a guarantee that Red Bull will even allow back Yuki into RB. The fact is that you've got 3 drivers all vying for the same seat, but with a 4th junior waiting on the sidelines, and history has shown us that it's not as simple as just promoting the next deserving driver into the Red Bull, because in the case of Hadjar, that could literally destroy his career and reputation within the next 12 months. Despite everything I've said, if Red Bull are happy to pay for another season in Formula 2 for Lindblad, given their history of snap change after snap change and then expecting for things to just turn around quickly, in my mind right now, I think their best decision is to keep everything as it is for 2026. Unless Yuki collapses towards the end of the season and it becomes untenable that he just can't handle the pressure of racing for Red Bull, I just worry about promoting Hadjar too soon before he's really had time to build up enough experience and authority to excel at Red Bull. I think history has shown us that the Red Bull second driver dilemma isn't as simple as just replacing a driver with someone who we know is deserving of the opportunity. There is no doubt that all 3 of these drivers belong in Formula 1 in some capacity, even if it is just outside of Red Bull. And that is why I think that for right now, the best change is no change. Well, there you have it. Once again, a big thank you to Lovable for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to check out my link in the description and use my promo code ALDASYT20 to get an exclusive discount. If you did enjoy this video, then don't forget to subscribe, that would be massively appreciated, and I'll see you in the next one.